What's up, Devils? J-Dog back for another goddamn fucking video. And today's videos, we're going to pick up where I left off on the last video. I scrolled through and I saw some more pretty decent questions, or questions that seemed like some Devils wanted answered on the last video that I went through, and it was the Toxic Holocaust versus Sodom video. So went through there and I saw some more. I'm like, I'll finish some of these off. And if I get through, I didn't see how many more there were. I saw at least 3 that I was going to answer. And then if there's more, I'll answer those. And if it's only fucking 5-10 minutes in and I still got time, I'll just go straight to the next fucking video. So you get 2 for 1, god damn it. Possibly. And where the fuck did I see the first one? I thought was Metal Musician 6996. Hey J-Dog, got a great idea for a story time video. Could you possibly do a story time about your landlord? What does he think of underground metal? I heard a bit about him on JOAB podcast and I was dying. Yeah, so Kritsky, Rob, aka Rob. So he's not our landlord anymore. It's his ex-wife that runs it. So the story was, as far as his ex-wife, it's actually her mom that owns it. So it would have been his mother-in-law at the time when they were married. And her mom just inherited it because it was her husband that opened it up. And long story short, he died. I mean, she's old as fuck. I don't know how much longer she's going to live. I've only seen her like twice in my life. So she's super fucking old. And so Rob was basically just doing us a favor to where he just set up his office. He owns like some construction business or something like that. He just set up his office there and any of the warehouse stuff that come up, because there's several companies that rent this warehouse. We're just one of them. There's at least a dozen. And so he would just take care of any questions or whatever that came up. And then when they got divorced now, this was, they've been divorced for quite some time now, maybe 8 years or so now. I haven't really seen him. I kind of bumped into him here and there. So it's not him that runs it anymore, but it was him initially where I was going to. Now we go to his ex-wife. And she's more professional, but still the things run. It's just, there's a lot of things that aren't taken care of and stuff like that. But not as like blunt as he was. Like, for example, the bathroom story and shit that you heard like that. But as far as stories, I mean, I think I told you kind of the funniest ones, but other things like that. I mean, I actually kind of hung out with him at times. As a matter of fact, the very first bodybuilding show I ever went to, it was just like an all-natural show that's held every first weekend of April and the first week of October. It's always held, and it's held at Lakewood High School. I think it still is. It's been several years since I've gone to it. And if you ever go to a natural bodybuilding show, it's kind of fucking boring, because if it's true natural bodybuilding, they're all natural. It's not impressive whatsoever. But what I did like is they would always get a guest poser. They'd get one of the top guys. So the first year I went was Dennis Wolf, who was one of my favorite. He's retired now. He's from Germany, one of my favorite pro bodybuilders. And that's when I first saw a pro in person, and that's pretty much changed my life. I was like, holy fuck. Because otherwise, when you just see the magazines and videos, it's nowhere near the same as seeing them in person. It's completely night and day. Because I thought I knew how big they were too and shit. So you see them in person, you see yourself next to them, and you see them in just real life, fucking moving around and everything. It's pretty impressive. And I met Branch Warren that. He had Phil Heath one year, Rolly Winkler, Jay Cutler. So anyways, that's Rob would go because he knew the guy that put on the show, Dave Lieberman, which he used to be, I don't know if he ever turned pro, but he used to be a competitor, pretty high level, maybe at least national level. I think he was like Mr. Ohio or something like that. Yeah, I don't think he turned pro, but I think he was a high level amateur in the late 90s, I believe. But anyways, Dave puts on the show, and Rob just so happens to know him. So he would get tickets for that, and we'd go to that. And funny because he's a kind of likes the bodybuilding world as well. And then ever since he left his wife or whatever, and he's no longer a landlord, I bumped into him. The last time I saw him, it was out in Vegas. I was out at Olympia, and his new wife, he's married to a competitor. She's a bikini competitor, and she has this business called Muscle Vodka. I don't know if you guys ever seen it. I know it's definitely blown up. I think they've even sponsored Olympia and shit like that. And they had a booth there, and I'm walking around the expo. I'm like, what the fuck? And Rob was at Kritsky was at the goddamn booth. So so they're, holy shit, man, how's it going? Because I haven't seen him in years. And this was, I think, in 2018 or 19 when I bumped into him. But prior to that was years. And so, but as far as but to his defense, I mean, the stories are like you heard on the JOAB. Yeah, we're funny and it's half-assed and like, what the fuck? But again, to his defense, he didn't own the building. It was just kind of like, my mother-in-law, and like just doing this as a fucking favor. So he wasn't gonna get paid. I mean, it was just a freebie. So it's kind of like, I probably should have been. If you'd sign up for something, probably should do a more of a thorough job. That's my That's my motto, but I get it. It's not like he was making a living off of like, oh my God, worst landlord ever. He's got money on the line because he didn't really care. So it kind of makes sense, but nonetheless makes time for funny stories. And the shit, and at the time, some of the stuff that wasn't going through was just nothing else, annoying as fuck because we're the ones that had to suffer and deal with it. You know what I mean? So, but no, as far as like I said, the toilets, the roof, the shit paint job, nothing that's there probably is something else that I'm forgetting story wise. I probably have to ask Reaper. He would remember because oh man, Reaper. I personally didn't have a problem with the guy personally, but Reaper couldn't stand him. He always like, yeah, guy's a fucking shyster. So I'm sure he kind of remember the stories because he kind of bared them more in mind. So, but it seemed like a lot of people liked the Kritsky stories. Even fucking Francisco thought they were pretty goddamn funny. And from Aussie Wastelands, hey J Dog, cheers for answering my poorly worded question. I may have had a few beers. May have, huh? I don't remember. What did you write? I don't remember. But no problem, bro. Sometimes people even send through Hell's Headbangers a service emails questions. I'm like, what the fuck? This guy's gonna be smashed. You can't even put a sentence together. May have had a few beers when I wrote it. That Incubus is some nasty shit for sure. Sure is. Incubus Simple Dreams demo, Spectral Birth. Hobbs, absolute legend. More people need his stuff in their collection. Got that right, brah. Got to see him play a few years before he passed. Yeah, that's one of my regrets. They played, Hobbs came here and played in like Pittsburgh. I think Chase went, and I was offered to go, or somebody asked, hey, you going? Hey, you want to go? Or I knew about it. And one of my regrets is because, yeah, he died a few years later, that I would have gone and got my picture with him because it's kind of like, I never even met him. So kind of would have liked to say that I did that, but, live and learn, I guess, right? One Aussie band that comes to mind is Martyr. Actually played with Hobbs in the late 80s. Even I didn't even realize Martyr was around that early. I knew early 90s. I didn't realize 80s, though. Even Peters said they blew him away. Have you heard of them? If so, what do you think? Way ahead of their time, they did a few international supports here in my hometown and blew some of those bands away. Cheers, mate. Yeah, actually, Martyr, the self-titled EP, and I'm pretty sure that came out in 1991. That's literally one of my all-time favorite 7-inches. Fucking love that 7-inch. And then their second 7-inch, it came out years later. I have that, what is it, Legions of Apocalypse, maybe it's called? It's good, but it's not as good. Martyr reminds me a lot of Niflheim. Not because they necessarily sound like them, although they kind of are like that. Like, you don't know what category to put them in. They're like Niflheim, I put them in black metal, but they don't sound like Norwegian. They're kind of like, it's like crazy sounding, like violent. That's why I consider Martyr. But anyways, the reason I put them in the same category is like the first Martyr EP, fucking loved it, thought it was great. I have the original 7-inch. And then I have a Nuclear Now reissue. I think a picture disc, maybe a color vinyl too, but because he did a 12-inch max, I think it's got bonus tracks and shit on there. It's been a while since I've listened to it, but I know I definitely have a Nuclear Now reissue because he obviously loved that stuff as much as I did. First EP, loved it, just like the first Niflheim, loved it. Got the second release, which was the second thing I heard was I think it was just their second 7-inch. I think before that, they had some demos and some promos in there that I haven't heard. But the second thing I heard, and I'm like, good, but it's not great. That was like, just like, for example, the second Niflheim, what is it? The I'm drawing a blank. The second fucking album, and then the third album, I remember that Niflheim. I don't think anything by them sucks. And then was the comeback album, and was it Envoy of Lucifer? That one I liked even less. So nothing by them sucks. Just like Martyr, I didn't think anything sucks. But it's just like I was a huge fan of the first EP, just like the first Niflheim. I'm a huge fan of it. But yeah, Martyr, man, that first 7-inch. That is definitely one of my favorite 7-inches of all time. I think it's just violent, for lack of better terms. I don't even know how else to put it. Been a huge fan of it since I got that early on too. I don't know if it came in. I'm pretty sure it was when Hell's first started. We got it from maybe Merciless Records or something. It came in a trade. I think that's how I got it. Because looking back, that was kind of like, especially at that time, early 2000s, already obscure at that time. In 1991 EP, and vinyl was already like vinyl in the early 2000s. Like I told you guys, it wasn't back yet. It was still kind of dead. So I'm kind of like proud and like kind of appreciative that it even came through. It was kind of a long shot that it would have. Well, love it to this day and still have it. Little Lover 90, what are some of your favorite themes for metal to covers in their albums? Slasher, horror, torture. I personally like themes about space and sci-fi. I don't know if I have a favorite theme, but I do like I always liked the brutal covers for sure. I think it got stupid in the fucking 2005 up to where it's really Photoshop looking or CGI'd in a sense. Almost looks like a goddamn PlayStation game. That shit fucking sucks. But I always loved, especially the early Wes Ben Scotter. Well, not, I'm thinking Cannibal Corpse. The fucking Vincent Locke covers. So the first four for sure, Cannibal Corpse. Love those covers. Wes Ben Scotter, I love just all this Mortician stuff. The Exhumed Gore Metal cover, I love that cover. Impale Dead Shall Dead Remain, I love that cover. I'm looking at pictures across me. Hemorrhage Anatomical Inferno, the pictured version of it was a drawing. I fucking love that. Not that it has to be gory or anything like that. It's just, I don't know, those will kind of attract me. As opposed to, like, for example, take like another picture of someone on my wall, Sinister Crosses Sticks. It looks kind of cool, but it's kind of just like, just a burning skull. You know what I mean? Nothing overly cool. Suffocation Human Waste, I think that's a really cool cover. So I wouldn't say there's a theme. It just has to be a piece of art that kind of sticks out. Look at another Suffocation Effigy of the Forgotten. I always thought that cover was just kind of lame. It's like, what is this, Transformers? Great fucking album. Love it. Huge fan of it. But like Human Waste, I'm like, this cover destroys it. It looks fucking death metal. You look at Effigy of the Forgotten, and you're just like, yeah, what is this? Fucking Transformers? Matchbox cards? What the fuck is this? But yeah, so not necessarily a favorite theme of covers. I wouldn't say that. And there's definitely some of the black metal ones like that I think look really cool. You know what I mean? I kind of like, as far as theme, I liked Dark Funeral, how they kind of had that the bluish black, dark, fucking spooky, satanic, fucking foggy feeling, with like Secrets of the Black Arts. And they kept it with Voboscum. They changed it on their third album, which was my favorite. And then, but I really liked how they returned it with, I think it was they might have a newer album out now, but Where the Shadows Forever Reign or wherever, I think that's what it's called. But I thought that was a great album. But it looked very Secrets of the Black Arts. I kind of liked that theme in a sense. Really fit the Dark Funeral sound, I thought. But there's not like a favorite theme for covers. But generally speaking, anything that looks fucking, kind of Matchbox cars or too comic booky, even though like Hemorrhage might think it's kind of, that kind of looks comic booky. I don't know, but I really liked it. But some stuff where it looks like, Spidey coming in and swinging over and kicking over a dead body, it's just like, I'm not a big fan of that. And just shit where you're kind of like looking at it, you're like, what is this? For example, one of my favorite albums of all time, Dismember Like an Ever-Flowing Stream. The cover looks okay, whatever, it's a piece of art or whatever, but it's kind of like you're looking at it, you're like, what the fuck is this? Another thing, kind of like Entombed Left Hand Path, kind of like looking at it like, all right, it's just kind of like what's kind of like, what is it? You know what I mean? Especially like the average person, if you're wearing a shirt outside of the metal scene or whatever, they're just gonna look at it. They're not even gonna think anything of it. As opposed to they see Butcher and Birth, it's obvious as fuck what it is. It's appalling, and what the fuck is that? You know what I mean? So I guess like in that sense, that's you kind of like, that's about how best I can try. But definitely not a favorite theme. Like it's got to be this. Gorehound. Well, I'm surprised you even know who some of these guys are, especially because I seen Gorehound comment, and he's obviously in the gore and death metal shit, hence the fucking name. So shout out to you, brother. But thoughts on Nasser El Sinbadi? I think I answered that. He's definitely up by now because all my other previous videos are up. I reckon he should have won the O in 1997 over Dorian that year, as Dorian was looking bloated and flat as hell. I agree based on, I talked about this earlier, I agree based on the photos, but what I hear is people that were there, they say there is guys that were there that said they think Nasser should have won too. They said it wasn't as it is closer than you thought. It wasn't like, you look at the photos, you're like, holy shit, it's a clear cut, like Nasser wins, what the fuck? Judges fucked him, right? But people have said it's like, yeah, Nasser probably did deserve to win. It's like, but it was much closer than you think. It wasn't just like a slam dunk. So, and I wasn't there, so I've only seen photos. And based on photos, I definitely thought that as well. Like, what the fuck? He definitely won. He is one of the uncrowned Olympians in my books. Yeah, him. And another one that looks like slam dunk, I wasn't there, was the 2007 Olympia, who's one of my favorite bodybuilders of all time, Victor Martinez. I think he beat Jay Cutler hands down based on the photos. And the thing is a ton of guys that were there, like Dave Palumbo, Flex Wheeler, bunch of other guys said publicly, they're like, dude, I was there. And they're like, they fucked Victor. I mean, he definitely deserved to win. Like, he definitely, hands down, was the winner. And they gave him second. So that was people. I don't know anyone was there that said, yeah, I think Jay should have won. So that's another one. Uncrowned Mr. Olympia. And by the way, yeah, I met Victor Martinez a few times. And not only he was always like kind of like one of my favorite physiques, but very, very cool guy too. Like laid back as fuck. Same with Charles Claremont. See, I'm very surprised you know who the fuck that is. He's like a fucking late 80s, early 90s competitor. One of the owners of my gym in the UK. Oh, shit, so you see him. I didn't even know what the fuck he's up. I didn't even know, like, some of these guys, I guess I didn't think he was dead because I would have heard about it, especially with how the guys are dying lately in the last, people say it's in the last 2 years. Oh, because of COVID or something. Dude, they've been dying, like, left and right for the last, like, 6-7 goddamn years. Where the fuck you been? Like, people forget, like, Andreas Munzer, fucking, Nasser dying, and Mike Matarazzo, and there was way previous years people are like, oh, there's so much now. It's like, It's a little bit more, but it's not that much more. I was like, they were dying. They've been dying for years. But Charles Claremont, I had no idea what the fuck he's up to. One of the owners of my gym in the UK, Body Limits, crazy aesthetic physique from back in the golden years. Yeah, he had a really, really good physique. Yeah, I had no idea what the fuck he's up to. Is he just some old guy that owns a gym now? Sounds like you know him and see him. Yeah, I had no idea what he was up to these days. This guy, I didn't know what the fuck he was talking about, so I thought Daniel Burks, 6 minutes, 1 second. He probably does. He did an interview with Reaper a few years back. When he's answering his, I said, it's about Glenn Benton. I was like, does he even know who Hell's Headbangers is? So I doubt it. Just because he did an interview with Reaper, man, that don't mean fucking shit. Number one, does he remember? Number two, does he care? And he might, but I mean, like I said, I'd be if somebody said Hell's Headbangers, my expectation would be like, yeah, I've heard of it. That'd probably be his response. But there's no way he's searched our site and shit like that. I'd be surprised. I'd be very surprised. I'll just say that. And I think this was the goddamn last kind of question I saw. I mean, there was a couple others, but I answered, like one guy asking about TV shows and shit, but I answered that in a previous video. So I think this was the last one. And I'll probably make this just under 20 minutes again. So perfect. Make this end off the video. So it's a two-parter to get one guy. Well, it's 85 comments in this one fucking Toxic Holocaust Sodom video. So yeah, there's a lot to fucking answer. Bog of Eternal Stench is definitely a different one that I kind of have an opinion on, and I'm going to definitely keep it PG because I don't want to fucking offend any of the tampon boys. Do you think that as time goes on, people are all reverting mentally, developing ADHD, and that larger amounts of people suffer from autism? Is human life devolving? So I've actually kind of had an opinion about this because, yeah, it seems like every other fucking kid you find is like autistic or whatever. And then you get all these conspiracy theorists and shit like that saying, oh, it's because of, not just even recently talking about the vaccines and shit like that. I'm not talking about even the current one, just prior. It's like, oh, they got mercury in there and all this other fucking bullshit. Yeah, look, conspiracy theories can be fun, but again, at the end of the day, it's a fucking theory. You can't, if it's not provable, it's kind of like, all right, well, just listen to it and take it as is. I personally think that how there's, higher levels of ADHD and shit like that. I just think that society is a combination of things. One, becoming smarter and learning of things, but two, just being kind of too much of a fucking pussy. Because some people I meet, they're like, oh, he's autistic. I'm like, oh, he's not. I've met him. He's fucking fine. It's just you're giving too much of a pass because my thing is like with kids, oh, he can't do this, he can't do that, and you're just babying him too fucking much. For example, like people and kids are capable of more than you fucking think. When you put them in a situation that they have to do something. I'm not saying I agree with this because this is definitely I don't agree with this, but taking time like for example Vietnam War and shit like that, where there was what was it like 8-year-olds and shit using automatic weapons. I don't agree with that. That's definitely fucking wrong. But what I'm saying is they're capable of fucking doing it. Fuck the 8-year-olds of today and shit. Most of them don't even know how to ride a bike or tie their shoes, shit like that. They're completely fucking useless. That's just because how they're raised. And like just little things that get these passes. Oh, he's got a mental deficiency. No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. He's fucking fine. It's just, again, part of it is education. Like in the 80s and stuff, they just didn't know about it. And it's just kind of like, I don't know, just wake up, dummy. Like, you know what I mean? But I mean, there was a part where it was like, there is people that do have it and it's obvious as fuck. And I think maybe back in the 80s, they would just put them in like, oh, he's retarded category. That's what they'd say. I could be wrong on that. I don't know. I'm assuming that's what they did. And now they just kind of have a term for it. But the ADHD and autism thing, that thing is way fucking overused and way over. It's not as common as yours. People are slapping because I met several people, kids and even adults, who be like, he has this. I'm like, he's fucking fine. You're just making excuses for him. That he just doesn't want to do it, or he's lazy, or maybe he just doesn't understand such and such as well as others. But hell, there's a lot of topics I don't understand and comprehend as well. Does that mean I'm autistic? I think I'm just a normal guy that some things I understand really well, some things I don't. That's how most fucking people are. So, but I mean, there are some people I know, well, one person for sure that's extremely fucking autistic. And he is, I can tell, like he legitimately is. I'm like, oh, okay. So I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I'm not one of those, shit doesn't exist. It 100% exists. I'm just saying that they're throwing around that card way too fucking easy. And I don't think it's more common than it was in 1980s. I just think that now there's a name for it. And again, with the wimpification, they're slapping that term on a little bit too easy. My guess is, who knows why? I mean, my first theory could be money. Think about it, because now you got to hire a fucking doctor. They can prescribe you medications, hiring tutors, things like that. That'd be my guess. I'm not saying that's the answer. I'm just guessing. When it comes to this shit, take anything I say with a grain of salt. It's funny when a lot of guys want to talk politics and shit like this. At the end of the day, like say myself, like talk a little about politics and everything. I'm some fucking dumb shit that sells death metal records, listens to death metals, and likes to work out and bodybuild. That's all I'm into. What the fuck do I know about politics or anything like that? I don't know shit. But if you ask my opinion, I'll just give my opinion. It could be dead wrong. And hell, if someone was to go out and prove that it is dead wrong, that's fine. I just didn't know much about it. Here's my opinion on it. But I did notice about the autism thing that it's just is since like my teenage, it's just since my time. So like I graduated high school in 2003. So 90s, early 2000s, maybe that term wasn't used. Like, I mean, it was used, it was around, don't get me wrong. I knew what it was. Put it this way, I'll give you an example. What I thought autism was all my teenage years and up to about age 20 or so. You guys ever see that movie with Bruce Willis, Mercury Rising? And there's that kid in it. What's his name? What is it? Sam or Simon? I think maybe Simon sounds about right. It's been a while since I've seen that movie. And he's autistic, right? He cracks his code, and the government's after him, or whoever's after him because he cracks some security code. That I'm like, oh yeah, it's autistic. That's what I thought autistic was. And then now I meet fuckers nowadays in 2015 and shit. He's autistic. I'm like, I'm like, what are you talking about? He's a normal fucking dude. He's nothing wrong with him. I'm thinking you got to be Simon territory. That's how you're autistic. That's what I always thought it was. So like when I was in high school and shit, that term wasn't thrown around. Oh, he's got this, he's got that. What the fuck? No, you're not paying attention or you're being lazy or whatever. That's what we always assumed it was, unless it was a clearly obvious. Okay, this dude legitimately he does have something wrong with him. So yeah, I think it's a little over fucking used for possibly making money and just whipification of the nation. More of that. We definitely know that's going on. And that's not because of the last 2 years, guys. I think the whipification nation, I've been saying this for the last 10 goddamn years. Things have been getting wimpy as fuck. Gets a little wimpier every fucking year. At least that's what I've noticed. But yeah, that's what I think of it, man. So anyone that disagrees or if you have more insight on it, feel free to put it in there because again, I'm just some fucking death metal dumbass. And at the end of the day, I don't really know much about that shit. Want to know about fucking cannibal corpse, deicide, and hemorrhage? That's my fucking area. That's not, but that's my opinion on it. So just leave it at that. Take it for what it is. Give a fuck, don't give a fuck. Do what you want with it. That's it for this one, Nibbles. Leave the comments, questions, concerns. You know where to put them. In the comments, goddamn. See you bright and early 6 a.m. As always, later, motherfuckers.